Oh, there are so many choices. There's so many choices. So many different choices. Where do I go? What do I do? What do I do? So many choices. So you've decided you're gonna buy an RV, or maybe you own an RV and you've decided it's time to get the right RV because your first, second, third try wasn't quite right. Well, that's my job as your personal professional RV outfitter. I'm gonna help you figure this whole thing out. Where do you begin? Let me give you some solid pro tips on what to do when it's time to buy an RV. List of priorities to help you have a better RV purchasing experience. Let's go. So I've been in the RV industry for many, many years. Yep, look, I know this is not polite, but I'm sorry. I got to keep the glasses on. It's very bright. I get migraine headaches if I don't wear them. I apologize in advance for my unprofessionalism. This is just a fun gig, man. It's a hobby, all right? Anyway, of all the years I've been in the RV industry, I have found that there are things that people do that make purchasing an RV a lot harder. And then there's things they don't do that also make it a lot harder or less efficient or less effective. So let me give you some tips, some basic professional tips for what to do to make your RV purchasing experience the smoothest, most efficient, and best it could possibly be for you. Number one, the first thing you want to do is you want to establish a budget. You got to have a budget. Every manufacturer builds to a budget. Now that doesn't matter if you're buying new or used, you need to establish the exact budget that you're working with. Most people finance their RV. So what can you handle per month? How much can you do down? And then how much can you handle per month? If you're just writing a check, what can you stroke that check for? And you got to keep in mind, tax, title, and licensing adds anywhere from 10 to 12% roughly. So keep that in mind as well. If you need hitch work, if you need any additional equipment, hoses, things like that, you're going to need more than just the RV in order to go out and enjoy the RV. We'll talk about that in greater depth in other interviews, in other videos. Bottom line is you got to have a budget. What are you looking to do in terms of your budget, and what can you afford realistically? So that's number one. Number two, what type of RV do you want? Do you want a travel trailer and a little teardrop deal like you see over there? Overland deal, a pop-up. You want a pop-up trailer? Fifth wheel? Motorhome? Do you want a Class C? What kind of an RV do you want? You need to identify what it is that you want, what kind of an RV you're going to purchase. That will make the process a lot smoother. So number one, your budget. Number two, the type of RV that you want. Number three, what about the floor plan? What's the best floor plan for you? Usually, in order to help figure that one out, you got to know how many people you're trying to accommodate. So is this just going to be you by yourself, you and a couple dogs? Is this you and your significant other? Maybe you've got kids. Maybe you want to take grandkids. You need to figure out who are you trying to accommodate. So there's two aspects of that. Number one, how many people do you need to sleep comfortably? There's a difference, by the way, both comfortably and uncomfortably. And then how many people do you want just to be able to hang out? And what do you consider hanging out comfortably? Again, that matters. It's important. Those are factors that have to be considered. Again, I just want to apologize for wearing my sunglasses when I'm outside in the sun. Even with it being overcast or cloudy, the sun the rays just kill my eyes and give me major headaches like migraines. So I got to wear my glasses. So again, I apologize for wearing my glasses in certain aspects of videos that I produce. Anyway, floor plan. So you've got to consider the floor plan. What floor plan are you looking to provide yourself, your family with, and what are you going to be doing with that RV? Uses. The use is critical. Is this a full-time use? Is this part-time, weekend warrior? You're just looking to get out of town for a few days at a time? 3, 4, 5, 7 times a year? These are really important questions that you have to answer before landing yourself on the RV of your choice, whatever that might be. Again, whether it be your first, second, third, 23rd. These are very important things you're going to have to figure out. And when you think about it, there's only so many different things that you can do with a particular floor plan. There's only so much space. This is especially prevalent in RVs like Class B vans or B plus vans, or even to a degree smaller travel trailers like teardrops or overland bumper pulls, things that you would consider a much smaller RV. Because they have a limited amount of space, those floor plans can be categorized into certain accommodations. For example, bunkhouse units or bunk units, units that have bunks in them. So that'd be your main primary sleeping, as well as bunks for smaller people, or in some cases bigger people. You have, like, in a fifth wheel, you'll have a front living, or you'll have a rear living or a mid living, and that's what this space is. This is a living space. And then you have your kitchen area. Where's the kitchen? Is the kitchen in the middle? Is it in the rear? Is it a rear kitchen? Is it a front kitchen? A front kitchen is a lot more rare. Not in a travel trailer. You'll see them in a travel trailer, but it's very rare in a fifth wheel because of the weight associated with the kitchen, the tanks, the issues with gravity and water. There's a lot of reasons why they're not as common, why a lot of builders don't even touch them. So what does the floor plan look like for you? And what that floor plan is going to look like for you is going to be directly related to how you use it. Are you in this thing full time? If you are, you might want certain things like a washer dryer, or possibly even in some cases a dishwasher. It's going to really depend on how often you use it. If you're in it all the time, or if you use it throughout the year, you're going to need something that's 4 seasons that can be used no matter how cold or how hot it is. So how you use it is another factor. So again, as a real quick recap, get yourself a budget. They build these to a budget. Whether new or used, it's going to matter. You're looking to spend 20 to 30 grand, 30 to 40 grand, 40 to 50, 150, 160,000. It will affect what you are looking at, and it should. You need to be looking especially as you compare various different builders or brands, you want to make sure you're looking at apples to apples comparisons as opposed to an apple and an orange. You definitely need to do that starting with the budget. That will also tell you about the quality of the build. So budget. You also want to have, so budget, the type of RV that you want, floor plan, and then of course, how do you plan on using this thing? What are your planned uses for the RV? Number 5, I would say your exit strategy matters. You got to have a plan for when you're done with the RV. So exit strategy will impact your decision making. So think ahead. You might, in some cases, here's a reason why that might matter. You might find that a lot of these units these days have a 12-volt fridge as opposed to a dual fuel fridge, or they'll have solar panels installed as an option. That might not matter to you, but it will matter as you exit that RV. When you try to get rid of it, it's going to hurt you to not have those things. So it's always better to go with a little bit better, a little bit more, as opposed to a little bit less, if you can fit it into your budget. Budget being number 1. Another really important issue when planning the purchase of an RV, and we'll save this for number 6, the curse of number 6, the curse of the trade-in. Trade-in will impact your purchasing experience. This is a very important thing to plan for. And there's a couple of different reasons why. In some states, you get a tax benefit for including the trade-in. So when you're looking at the trade-in values, you have to remember that you're paying less sales tax on the unit you're buying in those states where they allow you to deduct the value of the trade-in. So that means that's going to be a factor. It's going to matter. So that helps you determine whether you want to sell it yourself on your own or trade it in. You're going to find that there is a huge gap between trade value. This is a more lengthy comment section, so I'm going to have to put you down for this. All right, the trade-in conversation is a lot more involved. So I'm going to have to emphasize that as an RV outfitter, as a personal professional RV outfitter, I often find myself recommending that my clients sell their RV on their own, sell their coach on their own. The reason why is because you're always going to do dramatically better selling it retail if you can find a buyer. There's several reasons for this. Number one, when you trade it in, an RV dealership has to take several things into account. Biggest among them, liability. When we take a unit in on trade, we're now liable for that as we turn around and sell it to the general public as a retail unit. That means we have to then take and put that unit through the shop. When we put it through the shop, we are a captive audience. We're our service department's best customer. Oftentimes, their largest customer, 70-80% of the business of the dealership comes from the sales department or the RV outfitting section of the dealership. So what that means is that when we take a unit in on trade and you don't know it, but we find out it needs a roof, we got a problem. It's going to cost us, what, 10, 12, 20 grand to fix the roof? See, we have to disclose that information. That's a liability. If we don't, we can be liable for it and get sued for it. As a private party, you don't necessarily have to know. Now, it would be best if you knew to disclose. That's what you're supposed to do. That's doing the right thing. But let's face it. Most people aren't professional RV service people and they just don't know. They don't know. They don't know if the unit is good in this regard or that. It works to them, which is good enough for their liability. So in that sense, you can turn around, say, I've taken great care of this coach, sell it for retail, which is oftentimes substantially higher than wholesale. Often 20, 30, even 50 to 60% higher than the wholesale value. So when you take and go to try to trade in your RV and you find that wholesale value is half of what you thought you were going to get for it, it's not because anybody's trying to rip you off. Nobody's trying to steal your unit or rip your face off. They're dealing with lots and lots and lots of issues. Liability. Another factor is the book changes. Let's say you trade something in and it takes them 2 months to get it through the shop. And then another month or so to get it through marketing. And then before you know it, they've had that unit for 3 to 4 months and it's just now available to sell. The book value has changed 2, 3, maybe 4 times. So what that means is they paid you X number of dollars based on an X value, which has now decreased another 5, 6, 7, maybe 15, 16, 17%. We don't know. Again, another gamble. These are the reasons why when you go to trade in a unit, you're not going to get anywhere near what you think you're supposed to get for it because you don't buy and sell on the wholesale market. We also have to look at what can we go to an auction or to another dealership and buy that unit wholesale for, comparable unit. If we can go and visit an auction and you think your unit's worth 40 grand because that's what the retail book is, but wholesale's 20, and we can go to the auction and say, hey, we got a buyer. He wants to buy this particular floor plan. You got it. Looks like it's in good shape. We'll pay you, it's an auction, so you're getting it at wholesale, 20 grand. Why would they pay you 40 when they can go to somebody else and buy the same thing for half that? See, these are all aspects of the trade process that most people, when you're not in the industry, you don't even know about it, let alone think about it. So, trade value. If you've got the time, you could take the calls, take the emails. If you could deal with the public, the general public, you will get paid for that in the sense that you're going to get more money for your trade. Then you lose your tax benefit in, like, for example, the state of Washington. Won't matter in the state of California because they don't give you trade credit. But in the state of Washington and other states, they do. So here, you want to factor that in. If I'm not paying taxes on that 20 grand, so that's what, another it's $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 in some cases. That's money in your pocket. So you have to kind of consider that as well. Your time is money. The risk of dealing with the general public, let's face it, not trying to scare anybody, but there's some crazy people out there. So look, if you don't want to deal with the general public, if you don't want to take the risk or the chance that you're going to have to deal with some lunatic who shows up and, I don't know, robs you. I mean, it can happen. Again, not trying to scare you, but it can happen. Well, then trade it in. Save yourself the time. Save yourself the hassle. Avoid the liability and the risk. Get the tax credit where applicable. So last but not least, super important, and this is not a mafia threat. It's just not. You should think ahead to where you want to service your coach. Because let me just tell you something. RVs require service. So either you're going to do it yourself, which typically, let's be honest, folks, a lot of people don't do it themselves. But if you're willing to do it yourself, great. You'll save yourself some time and money. But if you're like the majority of the people out there, you're going to need to get service for your coach. It's going to take regular and routine service. I mean, are you going to winterize it yourself? You're going to winterize it yourself? You're going to update the seams on the roof? Because they need to be done about every 6 months. Quarterly is ideal, but you gotta go up there, walk your roof, and take care of the seams and make sure all the maintenance is done. Make sure you're not getting any leaks anywhere. Service is critical. So think geographically about where you live, where you're going to be, and where you want to go for service. Try to purchase your RV from where you want to service. Here's the reason why. Remember what I said earlier about the dealership being their own best customer? Captive audience and all? 80% of the service department's business, 70-80% of it, is from their sales department. Moving units in and out. New, used, doesn't matter. They have to all go through the shop. So what that means is, and then we of course have to take care of the people who buy from us. They are a priority. We only have so much manpower, only so many hours, so many man hours of time. There's only so much shop time. So we have a limit. We have a restriction on that. It's just physics. We can only fit so many people through the shop. So what does that mean? Well, obviously, sales department, the outfitters, they're going to get priority. People who have bought from the dealership, they're going to get priority because they bought there. We've promised to take care of them, which leaves everybody else on the outs. So whereas somebody who bought a coach at the dealership can usually get in within days, maybe weeks, depending on the need, what it is that's involved. Somebody who did not purchase their RV there, it could be months. I've seen people on a waiting list for over a year. So where you want to service your coach matters. It's not a threat. When you're looking and shopping and you're looking throughout the nation, you're going, I could buy this down in Florida for half the price. Now, honestly, you can't. There's other issues involved in that. But let's just say you see that. Well, if you go and buy it in Florida, you're going to take it to Florida to get it serviced? Of course you're not. You need to get it serviced locally. You want to wait 6 months to a year to get in? No, you don't. It's worth it to you. The time, the money, the effort, everything. It's worth it to you to find a good, trustworthy dealership that you know you can count on, that's going to be there year after year to take care of you. So try to buy where you want to get service. So let's just recap real quick. Very important. So you want to buy an RV. Pro tips. Get your budget straight. Make sure your budget is in line with what you can afford. Make sure you identify what type of RV you want. You want a travel trailer, a teardrop, a Class A, a diesel push. What do you want? What kind of an RV do you want? Get your floor plan figured out. This is the thing that causes people to get a new RV every 2 or 3 years in most cases. They get a floor plan and then they realize they got the wrong floor plan. They need a different floor plan. Get the right floor plan. Try to get the right floor plan. What kind of use is it for? Full-time weekend warrior? Are you going to the dunes? You going off grid? You going over land? You going off trail? You going to an RV park? Figure out what kind of a use you're going to use. Have an exit strategy. Make sure that when you purchase your RV, you plan on how easily you're going to be able to offload that when you're done using it, and do so without hurting yourself too much financially. Handle the trade in the way that's best for you. It's critical that you get that part figured out and that you think about that through and through. Last but not least, buy where you want to get service. It's not rocket science. These are rock solid pro tips for how to buy an RV and how to plan it out and get the best, most efficient, most effective purchasing process that you could possibly gain through planning, preparation, and a little inside scoop from your personal, professional RV outfitter, Jeremy Petros. Thanks again, guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to hit the bell. Let's go, people. Let's go camping.